You are listening to Woodland Walks, a podcast for the Woodland Trust, presented by Adam Shaw. We protect and plant trees for people to enjoy, to fight climate change and to help wildlife thrive.
Well, today I am off to Priory Grove, which is next door really to the River Wye near Monmouth in Wales, to meet the site manager Rob there, who's going to give me a bit of a tour. It's predominantly made up of ancient woodland and provides a wide range of habitats for wildlife. Things like roe, fallow deer, they're known to forage throughout the area, and a wide variety of bird species, including the tawny owl, sparrowhawk, and the great spotted woodpecker, which can all be seen on the wing here. All very exciting, and I just got to find it and find Rob.
Hello, I'm Rob Davis, Site Manager South East Wales.
So tell me a little bit about where we are and why this is significant.
So this is Priory Grove Woodland. It's quite a large site on the outskirts of Monmouth, but nobody really knows what its history is. It's called Priory Grove presumably because it was attached to one of the monastic estates around here, and that probably accounts for its survival as one of the largest ancient woodlands next to Monmouth. And it did retain a lot of its coppice woodland, which is quite important for biodiversity.
Right, and we're standing by some fells. Were these oak?
These are oak, yes, oak in length.
So why have these been felled?
This is part of the coppice restoration programme. So coppicing on this site has been a management tool that's been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years in this area. And it's used to produce products like this oak that will go into timber, framing and furniture and all those good things. And also firewood as part of the underwood and the hazel and the understory coppice. So products for people, and in the past it was used for all kinds of things before we had plastic. But it's still very useful, and so because it didn't cease until recently in this site, the animals and plants and the fauna that relies upon this method, that have evolved with it essentially in the last 10,000 years or so, since we've been managing woods in this way, still are present here on this site or in the local area. So if you continue the cycle, you continue this interaction with the wildlife, and you can help to reverse the biodiversity declines.
Right.
So it's very holistic really, this management technique. But it does mean that to make space for the coppice regrowth, because trees don't grow under trees, it needs the light, the light needs to be there for the coppice to come up again. You have to take out some of these mature oaks that were planted 150, 200 years ago with the intention of being used in the future.
Right.
So we're planting things and we're carrying out the plans, we're bringing them to fruition, what people enacted a couple hundred years ago.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it is an ancient woodland.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean it's an untouched woodland, because for hundreds of years it's been managed. Man has had a hand in this. Not only that, commerce has had a hand in that. So often I think we think of these things as a dichotomy. You have ancient woodland, nice pristine sort of nature, and then you have sort of horrible, invasive commerce. Actually, I think what's interesting about this site is that there isn't that dichotomy. They both work in tandem. Is that fair?
That's right. It's a false dichotomy. So the reason these woods have survived is because they were useful for people, and because of the way they were managed. Coppicing and thinning is quite a sensitive technique. It allows space for nature to be present and to develop and evolve in tandem, so they're not mutually exclusive.
So tell me about, coppicing is an important part of this site. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing at the moment with that.
Yeah, so we've had a grant actually from the Wye Valley OMB, supported by the Heritage Lottery Fund, to do some coppicing work on stands that were coppiced about 20 years ago. So we're continuing that cycle. And we've been working with a company called Wye Coppice Community Interest Company, Wye Coppice CIC. And they're quite developed in the Wye Valley area. And we formed a good relationship with them. And through them, we've been able to do half a hectare of coppicing up on the other slope, higher up in the site there. If you like, we can go up and meet Joe.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, you lead on. I will follow.
Great.
You can hear from the fact that I'm a bit out of breath. We've climbed I'll be embarrassed to say it's a hill, a small incline. But we've come across this stand of felled trees. So just tell me a bit about what's going on here.
Exactly. So all these stumps you can see scattered throughout the stand, this is the coppice. So it's cut down to just about base ground level there now, and it'll just regrow. So it's kind of a natural defense strategy that we're just exploiting. So it's been used to its, since it evolved, things like hazel especially, been used to being browsed out by animals. The animals move on, and then the tree just comes back.
Right.
So it's like a phoenix strategy. It comes back up again. We're just exploiting that. So we'll cut the tree to base, and then we'll protect the regrowth from the browsing animals, and then the tree will come again.
And this is the work done by Joe?
So this is the work done by Joe Weaver. Joe's just down the end there, actually. You want to come and meet him?
Let's go meet him. Oh, I got stuck. Okay, so Joe, this is all your handiwork.
It is, yes.
So, tell me a bit about what it is you do then.
So I run Wye CIC. We're a coppice contracting company, and working with Woodland Trust, Natural Resource Wales and Wildlife Trusts throughout the Wye Valley. And we're embarking on a project to restore areas of the Wye Valley, do a coppice restoration project for various organisations throughout the Wye Valley. What you see here is about 1.5 acres of cut down trees with 7 or 8 standards.
What standards?
The standards are the trees that we've left behind.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah.
So they're the larger trees that.
So you wouldn't be coppicing. These are very well established big trees. You don't coppice trees like that. You coppice quite small trees, don't you?
Yes. So all the small diameter understory trees we've cut down to ground level, and they will resprout and grow back again. We can then come back in 10 years and recut them and have a healthy supply of continual healthy supply of polewood.
And so what you're trying to get with coppicing is sort of quite small diameter wood. Is that correct?
Yes, generally speaking. So this is a restoration project. You can see this first cut is fairly large diameter.
Right.
So most of this will go to make charcoal.
Right.
But generally speaking, after 10, maybe 15 years of growth, we'll have poles about sort of thumb size, maybe up to about 50 pence diameter.
And that's ideal size, is it?
And that's a really good size for products like beam poles, hedging stakes, binders that go on the top of naturally laid hedging.
Right.
And various other polewood applications.
And when you see a coppiced tree, evidence that it's been coppiced, I'm trying to look over there. Is this where you see lots of different branches actually coming out from a stump in the ground? That's evidence that's been coppiced, because not just one thing grows, lots of them.
That's right. So you can, if you have one birch tree standing up, for example, you can cut that down to the ground, and when you come back in a few months' time, you'll notice about 5 or 6 shoots coming from that one stump at the bottom of the ground. So if we can protect that from deer browsing and rabbit browsing, then those stems, those 5 or 6 shoots will grow up into individual stems that we can then use in polewood products.
It's odd, isn't it, that happens, though, that you chop down one sort of main stem and you get 4 or 5 coming back. That's sort of an odd natural thing to happen, isn't it?
It is. I think it's the tree's response to the stress of being cut down. So it sort of puts out a lot of energy into regrowing new growth to try to survive. Because essentially these broadleaf species trees, they're forever growing, and you can cut them down, they'll regrow. Cut them down again, they'll regrow again. So it's a constant cycle of regrowth.
Yeah. It is like sort of, thumbing their nose at you, isn't it? Going, well, you cut me down 1, I'm going to come back 5-fold. It's a sort of really funny response.
Indeed, but we can reap the benefits of that.
It's fun. So I get why that's good. And coppicing itself, that's an ancient art, isn't it?
It has. Certainly here in the Wye Valley, it was practised at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution to produce charcoal to power the Industrial Revolution until coal was introduced. Right. And so it's happened for hundreds and hundreds of years here.
Right. So do you think, there's no need for you to be a historical expert on the history of coppicing, but do you think that's the first big sign of it happening, sort of industrial revolution time?
Certainly around here it is, yeah. And some of the coops that we've cut, some of the coppice areas that we've cut here, we've found evidence of charcoal hearths. So you can see flat areas with bits of charcoal sort of sliding down the bank.
Right. So that would be ancient sites in here. Well, ancient, I mean, a few hundred years old, of them actually making charcoal in this woodland.
Yes, in this woodland throughout the Wye Valley, all the way throughout the Wye Valley here, yes.
Amazing. Now, so your company, it's not just a traditional sort of private business, it is a different sort of form. Just explain how that works.
So we run a community interest company, and that allows us to access grant funding if we need to. Essentially we're run as a private business, but we are able to do community outreach work as well, and that's part of what we do, is to try to educate people about sustainable woodland management.
Right. And how did you get involved in all of this then? Did you grow up as a boy going, I want to chop down trees, make fences?
No, I didn't. I was walking in the Dolomites, I saw two stoats fighting and thought, woodland life is for me.
Okay, wow, fantastic. Never heard that. So inspired by the battle between two stoats in the Dolomites. Well, that's fantastic. But a hard life, I would have thought, to run a business, I mean, it's physical work anyway, but that's my perception from the outside. Is it a hard life?
It can be very difficult. It does have its benefits. Obviously it keeps you fit and it gets you outside. But yes, it is a hard life, and you know, it's quite a technical job as well. The training is expensive, and so we're trying to introduce a training program as well through our business Wye Coppice, to try to get young people interested in woodland management.
And do you find that people sometimes don't understand or perhaps disagree with the fact that commerce and nature can be actually mutually beneficial? Do you find that an issue at all?
Yes, I do. Yes, we're always willing to stop and talk to dog walkers, especially. Shortly after COP26, we had two dog walkers come past and shout at us for chopping the trees down. After sitting down with them and having a cup of tea, they bought a bag of charcoal off us.
Right, very good. There we are. You're bringing them out one by one. One by one, those customers are coming over. Well, brilliant. And we've had not a bad day. I thought I might have to put my wet weather gear on, but it's been okay. Anyway, well, that's brilliant. Well, thank you very much. That's been really interesting.
Thank you.
So we've got this stand of trees we're looking at, Rob. There's a couple of oak. Do you say that was a lime?
It's a lime, yeah.
That's a lime. That one with lots of ridges in it. Is that
That's
the lime?
it, yeah.
That's the lime. So why have you left these trees? Is there a particular reasons you didn't take these ones out?
Yeah, so these, as you can see, these are all mature trees, and so we don't take these decisions lightly. So when we coppiced this sort of half a football field area here, there were 13 of these big mature trees you can barely get your hands around because they're so large, taking a couple hundred years to grow. So you've got to be quite careful and quite selective, although you need the light. And there's an old adage about oak trees, and it goes something like this, that to fell an oak tree you need three things. You need a good eye, a sharp axe, and a cold heart. Because these trees, you know, they've been grown and nurtured and developed, and they're impressive life forms.
Yeah.
And so it's not something you do without considering it very carefully.
Yeah.
So you can see a couple of trees in here, which are a couple of oaks, good size, but they're full of ivy, very dense ivy, and that's very good for wintering bats, for hibernation or for potentially
the
summer
bats
roosting.
would live just amongst the ivy. They'd sleep amongst the ivy.
Yeah, when it gets as dense as this, when it's really all knotted and twined,
Yeah.
there's lots of gaps behind it. You know, you could stick your hand in and find little cavities. And several species of bat, especially pipistrelle, they will hibernate over winter in this kind of growth.
Right.
So you really don't want to be disturbing this.
Is there something specific about lime that wildlife like? Is there any particular wildlife there?
Well, it's good for bees.
You get
It's good
beehive
pollen.
in there?
I
see.
Like the flowers.
The pollen itself is
yeah.
good.
It produces lots of the small leaf lime like this. It produces lots of good flowers,
Right.
and it will attract aphids, which is actually a food source for dormice
Right.
in the summer. So they feed on the aphids that feed on the lime sap You know, if you park your car under a lime tree, you'll
yes,
get this
oh,
very sticky kind of substance coming off it.
Yeah.
So that attracts aphids, attracts the dormice. It's good for insects who like nectar as well. So it's a very valuable tree, and
interesting. It's not valuable commercially. It's valuable for nature.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's quite a special tree in the Wye Valley. It doesn't occur much outside this area naturally,
right?
And so it's kind of an ancient woodland indicator in this part of the world.
Right.
Perhaps not officially, but it's
yeah. Okay. Any other trees we got here on?
Yeah, the rest of the trees then are beech.
Right.
And
you've kept those why?
Yeah, because you can see, if you look at this one here, it's got quite a few cavities in it at the base, at the top. And beech tends to do that. It tends to form little cavities, rot holes, and there's ways in, and that's ways in for fungus, and then they eat out and hollow the tree. So the potential for Harbury bats again is very high in these trees. Without sort of going into them and doing some invasive exploration, you can't tell, but it's very high potential for bats.
Right.
So again, bats, all species of bats in this country are protected under law because they've had massive declines, like a lot of woodland species. And so we'll do everything we can to retain that habitat.
It's the field of dreams philosophy. You build it and they will come.
And as long as it stays there, it'll always be valuable as a habitat. And these then are our future sort of veteran trees within this stand.
It is interesting. You've already. I mean, we've only done a short part of this walk so far, but you talked about whoever was managing this woodland 100 years ago knew what they were talking about. And I always think that's fascinating that we don't know who that person is or who those people were. And in 100 years' time, people won't know who you were, presumably. But the evidence of your work will be here. They'll go, yeah, there was a good bloke who did all this and left us with something.
That's it. You don't plant trees for yourself.
Yeah.
You plant trees for the future generation. Yeah. So, I won't see the oaks I plant develop. I'll be dead long before they mature.
Yeah.
And it's the same for the person who did this. But you can see the ones I took out and selected were tall and straight. And that means that the coppice was well managed because there was enough light for the hazel in the understory to come up straight away. If you cut hazel to the ground and you protect it, within a couple of years it'll be way above 6-8 foot.
Yeah.
And it'll just continue to get higher and higher over the next few years. And what that does is it shades the stem of the oak and it prevents side branching. So you get this very tall initial first stem, and that's what you're looking for. And that's what these trees had. So this would have clearly been cared for, and these trees had been selected. They were on a journey from the moment they were planted.
Okay, and just on my journey of education about trees, their beech, I wouldn't be able to spot that myself. What tells you their beech?
It's a smooth trunk. If you look at this one here now, you can see, I always think of them as sort of elephant legs.
So that's beech?
Yeah, they're grey and they're tall and they're smooth, and they quite often have sort of knobbly bits on the base like an elephant's foot. And if you go through a stand of pure beech, it looks like a stand of elephant's feet. Really tall grey stems and these big, huge buttress roots. Fantastic.
I'm never going to forget that, and I will always think of elephants when I look at a beech. A brilliant, brilliant clue. Thank you.
Great.
Right. So where are we off to now?
We'll walk round, so you can see the top of the coop and just see the extent of it, and then we'll walk back down perhaps and have a look at this oak.
Brilliant. Well, we've come to over the brow of the hill, and along this path there's a tiny little path for me to walk, and on either side there's a carpet of green. Now I think I know what this carpet of green is. Rob, what would you tell me?
This is wild garlic.
Yeah. This is the time of year, is it?
Yep, you can see the flower heads, ramsons it's also called. It's just about coming into flower.
Sorry, they're called
now.
what?
Ramson.
Ramson, is that the flower itself?
Just the plant.
The plant. We call it wild garlic,
yeah.
But its real name is Ramson.
Well, some people call it Ramson too.
Right, okay.
As well.
And I have never eaten anything from a forest because I am sure I will kill myself. But all of this, I've seen loads of people do that, pick wild garlic, and there's acres of the stuff here.
Any kind of wild plant comes with the caveat that you need to know what you're doing.
Yes, which I don't.
Absolutely. It's this site is quite well known for its Ramson, for its wild garlic carpets. But this is in response to something here, quite a sad thing actually. We're right next, we probably hear the road noise there, we're right next to the main road from Monmouth into the Forest of Dean, Staunton Road there. And unfortunately, a lot of the trees along the road edge were big mature ash trees. And they all had died back, and they were all dropping limbs and about to crash a car. And so, you know, we take that very seriously in terms of health and safety. So the trees just along the road edge, we left the ones in the wood, just the road edge trees, we had to do something about them. So they've either been reduced or felled. And what that's done in this woodland, where in the last 60 years you have had very little management, like most woods. Post-war, very little's happened. So it becomes very high, very close canopy, very dense. And what's happened because of the ash felling is you've got this pocket of light here, and the ramsons have immediately responded to that. So this wasn't here last year, this carpet like this.
So this is brand new?
This is brand new. It was the odd plant coming up every year, patches of it.
I'm shocked because this looks like something from the Wizard. If this was yellow, this would be in the middle of the Wizard of Oz set here, the yellow brick road.
Green brick road, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it is just a beautiful, winding, lush, dense path of wild garlic. It looks like it's been here forever.
And in a sense, it was just waiting for the opportunity. It was waiting for that temporary disturbance caused by the ash felling. And so, like with the Coppicing, that's what we're trying to recreate essentially, is these temporary pockets of disturbance where you break up the canopy, you get this flush of greenery, then until the trees recover it and regrow again. So you don't want this homogeneous block of woodland really, you want variation, because that's the key to success for wildlife and biodiversity. Different niches, different ages. And if you look in closely, you can see it's not just the garlic either, you can see wood anemone, you can see greater wood vetch, you can see little violets. So, you know, quite a lot of species are now taking advantage of this temporary light that the ash fires produce.
It is a nice positive message, isn't it? Because ash dieback has been a real tragedy. But even in the midst of problems, there are opportunities which nature comes back with, isn't it? It's an optimistic sign.
There is, and so these, as I say, you know, these trees would have coppiced without us, because, you know, when animals browse them, they come back after that. So all we're doing is sort of recreating these natural processes through the management of the woodland. You know, a once in a lifetime storm might have knocked these ash out. You know, a hurricane, something like that, would have felled a whole area, and then temporary open space, the plants capitalise, and then the wood comes back again. So we're just mimicking what nature does anyway.
Brilliant. I'm going to take a photo of this, put it on my Twitter feed. It's fantastic. So we've just taken a little stop on this path of wild garlic. So over to the right is, well, I thought it was a bird box. It's a large bird box. You tell me it's actually something very specific.
Yeah, this is a pine marten nest box.
Oh.
Because there has been a big release of pine marten. Pine martens are native to this country. It's kind of like a large weasel that lives in the trees. That's a really bad way of describing it, but it's a mustelid. It's a large, impressive, intelligent animal, and they were sort of pressed to extinction by persecution in the past. But they're very important in these woods for regulating, you know, the biodiversity. They'll prey on the grey squirrel especially, and they'll regulate bird numbers like any predator does. So it's great to see them coming back. And it's a success story actually, because a couple of years ago now there was a release programme where captive animals were put into the Forest of Dean, which is just over that direction. And so we put up some boxes and monitored them. And pine martens are moving back into this area now. Whether they're using the boxes or not, we're not entirely sure, but they are moving in, so it's a really good story. So we'll do whatever we can to sort of encourage them, because we've lost a lot of this old growth woodland that we're trying to protect, and so they haven't got the nest cavities, so temporarily we'll provide this habitat.
And over to the other side of the little dip, there's another pathway, and it looks like the bank has been cut away, and it's very black, so that doesn't look quite natural. What's going on there?
Well, the track that's been put in there is exposed at an earlier industry, so that's a charcoal platform. You can see, what is it, about 5 metres in diameter, sort of circular, and very, very thick layer of charcoal.
Yeah.
A huge fire has been there, but that's lots and lots of fires, one on top of the other.
So this is not current. This is probably a couple of hundred years old.
I think the last burn in this woodland would have been before the Second World War.
Right. Oh, right.
So
It's not that old, but
well, I mean, if they were still burning, they would have had the odd one. But this probably dates to sort of the height of the periods of the late 19th century.
right.
So this, it's been buried and forgotten about.
Yeah.
But it shows you, as Joe was saying earlier, that at one point this was a managed wood, and quite a few woods in Wales, if you look on the maps, you'll see things like Coed Poeth, which probably roughly translates as sort of hot wood or burning wood. Very roughly, probably, which gives you may give you an indication that these woods were worked. And if you came here, you would have probably seen people living in the woods. So the itinerant charcoal workers, especially in the 19th century, would have moved in the summer to do the charcoal production with their families.
Just living in a tent or something.
Living on site, because then, you don't want to move things twice. It's uneconomic. So you bring your family in, you produce your product, and then you come out with it at the end of the season. So it's very peaceful here today. You can hear the birds. Yeah. It's great for wildlife, but it would have been a managed landscape, and we're trying to introduce a little bit of that. Obviously not people living in the woodlands anymore, but there's space for both here within this woodland. Bit of coppicing, bit of management, and reserve areas.
And I mean, I hadn't quite noticed it whilst we were walking, but now we're standing here on this green carpet. There is an overpowering smell of garlic, which is quite strange. It's very fresh. Sometimes when you're in the kitchen and the garlic, it's not fresh. It's pungent, but this is, it's mixed with the sort of cool air. It's a really lovely smell.
It's making me hungry, actually.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking whether I should pick some for dinner.
Chop some up, pass the sauce. It's lovely with that. If you.
Yeah. They're lovely. Yeah. And there's another one amongst this wild garlic. It's clock. What was it?
This one here. The Town Hall Clock.
Town Hall Clock. That's it.
Or
So just
Moshatel.
what's its proper name?
That's it's another acronym, pseudonym really. It's Moshatel.
Moshatel.
Or Town Hall Clock. I forget the Latin actually.
Is Moshatel the Welsh word for it, or it's not?
No, it's not. It's a general word, just a colloquial, local term.
And why is it called the Town Hall Clock?
Look, you can see these four. The flowers
have
4 sides to them,
right?
Like an old town hall clock would. So
lovely. So it's really quite a rich path we're wandering down.
See, the bluebells are out. Look, just now. If you look up into the wood there, you can see them. In Welsh, they're called clochiar y gog, which is the cuckoo bell.
Cuckoo bell?
Because it comes out when the cuckoo comes. So, apparently, the grant paid for like a fence, the contractors to fence off this boundary here, stop the deer coming in from the Dean, stop the wild pig essentially. The pig are a nice.
You get wild pigs here?
They're a nuisance around here, yeah.
Wild pigs?
They call it, they're not really boar.
Right.
Because a boar will produce like, I don't know, maybe a litre of 6.
Right.
And these pigs will do 22.
Blimey.
So it's
how big are they?
They look like boar.
So, and boar can be quite violent, can be quite aggressive.
Yeah, they're sort of half breed. Half pig, half boar. They're big animals.
Right.
Got a cute little stripy piglets, just like a boar does.
Right.
But they're exponential in their reproduction.
And they're around this wood?
They're here.
So do they cause a problem with eating all the...
Yeah.
Do they nibble on the new trees and stuff?
Yeah, well, they sort of root... I mean, you want boar, because they were here originally.
Yeah.
And you want boar like the deer, you want them in sustainable number. They're all sleeping now, aren't they?
Do they come out at night?
They only come out at night, yeah.
I'll have to return.
Yeah, I mean, you'd see them. If you went up to the top path up there.
Yeah. We haven't done a nunt podcast. I think we should do some bats.
You can do bats. Yeah, if you're waiting, while you're waiting for the badgers to come out, you can do the bats.
Yeah.
There's a few sites around here where you can watch them.
Okay. Well,
I'm sure there's other trust sites where people know.
Well, maybe I'll come back.
The one summer when I was doing my bachelor's degree, I was working in Connectly in just a cafe, just to get some money.
Yeah.
I was working with the local girls there, and I'd been out surfing in Llangennith on the Gower the day before, and I was like just telling her how the seals came in because they chased the mackerel in, just beyond the surf line. I was sitting there, the water just boiled with the stench of fish and mackerel. And I looked around and there's 2 seals popped up. And they were driving the mackerel into the back of the waves to hunt them.
Yeah.
I was telling her this, and she's like, "What are you telling me? There's seals in the water here?" Exactly. Where? It's like just on the Gower. Seals, like seals, like living water. It's like there's seals there. Yeah, they've always been there. We just don't value what's around us.
Don't notice it.
We don't notice because you can't see it. You don't see it. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Attenborough has done a
That's
series recently
great.
on the UK, and you don't have to go to Africa or
No, you
Latin
don't.
America to see these things.
I was in West Wales last week in Aberaeron, and you can see bottlenose dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Increasingly under threat, as Attenborough points out. But yeah, they're there. You see the seals. You can see them all around us. Yeah. This is doing well.
Well, I'm going to have to leave our little trip down the Wye Valley with some rather unexpected chat about seals and bottlenose dolphins, and a promise to return one dark night to meet some bats. Until next time, happy wandering.
Thank you for listening to the Woodland Trust Woodland Walks. Join us next month when Adam will be taking another walk in the company of Woodland Trust staff, partners and volunteers. And don't forget to subscribe to the series on iTunes or wherever you're listening to us, and do give us a review and a rating. And why not send us a recording of your favourite woodland walk to be included in a future podcast? Keep it to a maximum of 5 minutes, and please tell us what makes your woodland walk special. Or send us an email with details of your favourite walk and what makes it special to you. Send any audio files to podcast@woodlandtrust.org.uk, and we look forward to hearing from you.